The moment I stepped onto that ship, I knew something was off. The music was louder, the drinks stronger, and the men, well, there were only men. I thought I'd booked a relaxing escape to clear my head after my divorce, but this was no ordinary cruise. It was a gay cruise. What started as an innocent mistake turned into the most eye-opening, heart-racing week of my life. Because on that ship, I met him, Jordan, a man whose presence shattered every boundary I thought I had. By the time the cruise ended, my world was no longer the same. Liam stood in his now empty apartment, staring at the bare walls that once held pictures of a life he thought would last forever. After 10 years of marriage, the silence was almost deafening. It wasn't just the absence of his ex-wife's voice or the clinking of her coffee mug in the morning. It was the realization that he had been living someone else's dream, not his own. At 30, he had finally broken free, but it wasn't the relief he had imagined. It felt more like standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to jump or step back. He ran a hand through his thick blonde hair, his athletic frame tense with indecision. His friends had all told him the same thing. "You need a break, Liam. Do something wild. Go somewhere new." So after much hesitation and a few glasses of wine, Liam did something impulsive. He booked a week-long luxury cruise. He had no idea where the ship was going or what kind of crowd he'd encounter. He didn't care. All he wanted was to escape the monotony, to breathe again, and to figure out who he was without the shadow of his failed marriage looming over him. When the day of the cruise finally arrived, Liam found himself standing at the dock, staring up at the massive ship that promised to whisk him away. It gleamed under the morning sun, a floating city of possibilities. As he wheeled his suitcase up the gangplank, he couldn't help but notice the energy around him. Groups of men laughed and chatted, their voices filled with excitement. Liam didn't think much of it at first. Maybe this was just a popular cruise for groups of friends, he reasoned. Inside, the ship was nothing short of opulent. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above marble floors, and the air buzzed with the scent of sea salt and expensive cologne. As Liam checked into his cabin, he felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this trip was exactly what he needed to clear his mind and start fresh. The room was spacious, with a balcony that offered a breathtaking view of the ocean. It felt like a clean slate, much like his life now. But as Liam explored the ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. The first hint came at the pool deck. Rows of sun loungers were occupied almost exclusively by men of all ages, shapes, and styles. Some were shirtless, their toned bodies glistening in the sunlight, while others sipped cocktails and chatted animatedly. The atmosphere was lively, almost intoxicating, but Liam couldn't put his finger on why it felt unusual. He pushed the thought aside and decided to grab lunch at one of the ship's many restaurants. The maitre d' seated him at a table by the window, and as Liam glanced around, he realized he was once again surrounded by men. Groups of friends, couples holding hands, and even a few lone travelers like himself. Where are all the families? He wondered. Where are the women? As the afternoon wore on, Liam convinced himself that he was overthinking. Maybe it was just a coincidence. After all, this was supposed to be a relaxing trip, not a puzzle to solve. Determined to unwind, he changed into swim trunks and headed to the top deck. The sun was warm against his skin, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of calm. He ordered a drink from the bar, a mojito, light on the alcohol, and settled into a lounger overlooking the endless blue of the ocean. It wasn't until later that evening, as the ship set sail, that Liam's curiosity returned. The main deck was alive with activity as passengers gathered for the send-off party. Music pulsed through the air, and laughter echoed across the water. Liam wandered through the crowd, sipping his drink and soaking in the festive atmosphere. It was then, standing near the bar and watching the dancers, that he noticed something he couldn't ignore. Nearly every single person on this ship was a man. At first, he felt a pang of confusion, followed by a wave of disbelief. Wait a second, could this be... His thoughts trailed off as he spotted a banner hanging above the stage, its bold letters illuminated by neon lights. Welcome to the annual Pride Cruise. Liam's drink almost slipped from his hand. A Pride Cruise? His mind raced as he pieced it together. The overwhelming number of men, the energy, the vibe, it all made sense now. He felt his cheeks flush, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief washing over him. How had he missed this when booking? Had there been a note in the fine print he hadn't bothered to read? He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. The logical part of his brain told him to retreat to his cabin to avoid any awkward encounters. But another part of him, the part that had been stifled for years, whispered, why not stay? Why not see where this goes? With a nervous chuckle, Liam ordered another drink. Maybe this wasn't the cruise he had planned for, but it could still be the escape he desperately needed. As the ship sailed into the night, he felt a strange mix of anticipation and fear. Little did he know, his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. The ballroom was a kaleidoscope of color and light. Neon signs glowed against the walls, and the music was loud enough to make Liam's chest vibrate. The dance floor was packed, with bodies moving in perfect rhythm to the DJ's beats. Waiters weaved through the crowd with trays of cocktails, and laughter filled the air. Liam gravitated toward the bar, where he nursed a drink and took in the scene. It was a lot to process, but there was something magnetic about the energy in the room. He found himself smiling despite his initial apprehension, and then he saw him. Standing on the far side of the bar was a man who seemed to command attention without trying. He was tall, his dark skin glowing under the lights, and his muscular frame was accentuated by the fitted shirt he wore. His lips curved into a smile as he spoke to the bartender, his deep voice carrying over the music. Liam felt his heart skip a beat. Who is that? The thought came unbidden, but it was impossible to ignore. For a moment, Liam forgot where he was. He forgot the music, the crowd, and the fact that he'd never felt this kind of attraction to a man before. All he could focus on was him. The man must have felt Liam's gaze because he turned, their eyes locking across the room. Liam froze, his drink halfway to his lips. The man smiled, a slow, confident smile that sent a jolt of electricity through Liam's body. Before Liam could talk himself out of it, the man was walking toward him. "Hi," he said, his voice rich and smooth. "I don't think I've seen you around before." Liam swallowed hard, his cheeks burning. "It's my first time here." The man's smile widened. "Well, welcome. I'm Jaden." "Liam," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. For the next hour they talked, the conversation flowing effortlessly. Jaden was charming and funny, his confidence putting Liam at ease. He learned that Jaden was 30, from Atlanta, and worked as a personal trainer. "It's kind of hard not to notice," Liam joked, gesturing to Jaden's impressive physique. Jaden laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Well, it doesn't hurt to stay in shape, but you're not doing too bad yourself." Liam's face flushed again, but this time he didn't look away. There was something about Jaden that made him feel safe, seen. And when Jaden leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a low murmur, Liam felt his breath catch. "Want to get out of here?" Jaden asked. Liam hesitated for only a second before nodding. "Yeah, let's go." Liam's cabin was quiet, a stark contrast to the pulsating energy of the ballroom. The hum of the ship's engine and the gentle rocking of the ocean set the backdrop as Jaden stepped inside, his tall frame taking up more space than seemed possible. Liam's heart raced. This wasn't just uncharted territory. It was a whole new world. Jaden's presence was magnetic, his dark eyes locking onto Liam's with an intensity that made the blonde feel both vulnerable and exhilarated. Without hesitation, Jaden closed the gap between them, his hand brushing against Liam's jaw as he leaned in. The first kiss was soft, exploratory, but it quickly deepened, igniting something inside Liam he hadn't known was there. Liam lost himself in the moment, in the strength of Jaden's embrace and the warmth of his touch. His breath hitched as Jaden's hands found his waist, pulling him closer, their bodies fitting together as if they'd been made for this. Every inhibition, every lingering doubt melted away in the heat of their connection. Liam had never felt so alive. The night unfolded in a blur of passion and discovery. They explored each other with an urgency that felt both new and timeless, their movements guided by instinct and unspoken understanding. Jaden was tender yet confident, his touch setting Liam's skin alight. For hours they forgot about the world beyond the cabin, lost in a whirlwind of sensation and emotion. When they finally collapsed onto the bed, breathless and tangled in the sheets, Liam felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Jaden lay beside him, his arm draped over Liam's chest. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Liam felt at peace. "Are you okay?" Jaden asked, his voice low and soothing. Liam turned to him, a soft smile playing on his lips. "I've never been better." The next morning, the sunlight streaming through the cabin's curtains felt brighter than usual. Liam stirred, his body pleasantly sore, and blinked to find Jaden still asleep beside him. The sight of the man, so serene, so striking, sent a warmth through his chest. Liam quietly slipped out of bed, throwing on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. He needed coffee and a moment to process the whirlwind of the past 12 hours. As he made his way to the dining area, the memories of the night before played on repeat in his mind, leaving him both elated and slightly disoriented. He grabbed a cup of coffee and found a spot by the window, staring out at the endless blue horizon. What now? He wondered. Last night had been incredible. But what did it mean? Was this just a fleeting moment, a vacation fling that would fade once they returned to their regular lives? Liam didn't have much time to dwell. As he sipped his coffee, a group of men from the cruise approached his table, their chatter breaking his train of thought. They introduced themselves as passengers who had noticed him the night before. Their compliments were playful but persistent, their flirtations bold. "So," one of them said with a wink, "are you and Jaden exclusive? Or is he still on the market?" Liam froze. He hadn't even considered the possibility of competition, but now it seemed obvious. Jaden was gorgeous, charismatic, and clearly in high demand. The thought sent a pang of unease through him. I don't know," Liam stammered, suddenly feeling out of his depth. "Well," another man said with a smirk, "if he's not, let us know. We'd love a chance." The group laughed as they walked away, leaving Liam with a sour taste in his mouth. He hadn't expected to feel this way, jealous, protective, but the thought of someone else pursuing Jaden made his stomach twist. By the time Liam returned to the cabin, Jaden was awake, lounging shirtless on the bed with the kind of effortless confidence that made Liam's stomach flutter. His broad shoulders were relaxed, his dark skin glowing in the morning light streaming through the window. For a moment, Liam just stood there, frozen in awe of the man who had turned his world upside down in less than 48 hours. "You disappeared on me," Jaden said, his deep voice still thick with sleep. He stretched lazily, flashing a teasing smile that made Liam's heart race. "I needed coffee," Liam replied, trying to sound casual. He sat on the edge of the bed, setting his mug down on the nightstand. His mind buzzed with thoughts of the encounter at breakfast, but he hesitated, unsure of how to bring it up. The last thing he wanted was to sound insecure. But it was Jaden. Jaden who had the power to make Liam feel both invincible and exposed with just a look. And Jaden deserved honesty. Liam began, then stopped, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. "I ran into some people this morning. They seemed interested in you." Jaden raised an eyebrow, propping himself up on one elbow. "Interested in me?" "They were asking if we're, exclusive." Liam's voice faltered, his cheeks heating up. Jaden's teasing smile faded, replaced by a look of curiosity. "And what did you say?" Liam laughed nervously, avoiding his gaze. "I didn't know what to say. I mean, it's not like we've talked about us." Jaden sat up fully, his expression softening as he reached out to touch Liam's hand. "Liam, you don't have to overthink this. I'm here with you because I want to be, not because of them, not because of anyone else." Liam nodded, but the knot in his stomach didn't fully unravel. "It's just hard, He gestured vaguely, trying to find the right words. "You're you. People notice you, and I can't help but feel like I'm competing for your attention." Jaden leaned closer, his voice low and steady. "You're not competing with anyone, Liam. Trust me. If I wanted to be somewhere else, I'd be there. But I'm not. I'm here. With you." For a moment, Liam let himself believe it. Jaden's reassurance was like a balm, soothing his racing thoughts. But the unease still lingered, lurking in the back of his mind like a storm cloud on the horizon. The day passed in a blur of activities, lounging by the pool, sipping cocktails, and indulging in the cruise's endless buffet. Jaden's presence was as magnetic as ever, drawing attention wherever they went. Liam tried to ignore the lingering stares from other passengers and focus on the connection he shared with Jaden. But by the time the evening rolled around, the tension had reached a boiling point. At dinner, they chose a quiet table on the top deck, the ocean breeze carrying the faint scent of salt and citrus. The setting was perfect, the kind of romantic moment Liam had only ever seen in movies. But even here, away from the noise and the crowds, their solitude didn't last long. A man approached their table, his confident stride and tailored suit making it clear he wasn't just passing by. He ignored Liam entirely, his attention laser-focused on Jaden. "You're the best-looking man on this ship," the stranger said, his voice dripping with charm. "I've been trying to catch your attention all week." Jaden smiled politely, but his body language didn't change. "That's flattering, but I'm here with someone." The man's gaze flicked briefly to Liam, then back to Jaden. "Well, if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me." He reached into his pocket and slipped a card onto the table before walking away. Liam stared at the card, his jaw tightening. It wasn't just the man's audacity that got under his skin. It was the ease with which Jaden handled the situation, as if it were a daily occurrence. "Does that happen often?" Liam asked, his tone sharper than he intended. Jaden glanced at him, his brow furrowing. "What? People throwing themselves at you?" Jaden sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Liam, come on. You know it doesn't mean anything." "It doesn't mean anything to you," Liam shot back, his voice rising. "But what about to them? Do they just not see me sitting here? Or do they not care?" Jaden reached across the table, his hand closing gently over Liam's. "Hey, look at me." Reluctantly, Liam met his gaze. Jaden's expression was calm but firm, his voice steady. "I'm here with you. Not them. Not anyone else. Just you. That's what matters." Liam exhaled slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "I know. It's hard to shake the feeling that I'm not enough." Jaden's grip on his hand tightened. "You are. More than enough. And if anyone can't see that, then that's their problem, not yours." For the rest of the meal, Jaden made a point of keeping the conversation light, steering them away from the topic that had soured the evening. But as they returned to their cabin, Liam couldn't help but wonder if his insecurities would ever stop haunting him, or if they would be the thing that drove Jaden away. The next morning, Liam woke up feeling restless. Jaden was still asleep, his body draped peacefully across the bed, but Liam's thoughts were anything but calm. The words from the stranger at dinner kept replaying in his head, his boldness, his audacity. Liam knew Jaden had dismissed it, but for Liam, it was impossible to ignore. He quietly slipped out of bed, not wanting to disturb Jaden, and headed to the pool deck. The morning sun was just beginning to warm the ship, and most passengers were still in their cabins. Liam found a quiet spot near the edge of the pool and sank into a chair, staring out at the endless ocean. "Why do I keep sabotaging this?" he thought to himself. He liked Jaden a lot, and Jaden had been nothing but attentive, kind, and patient. But no matter how much reassurance Jaden gave him, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't deserve someone like him. Deep in thought, aren't we? Liam startled and turned to see a man standing nearby, holding a cup of coffee. He recognized him as one of the passengers from the group that had flirted with Jaden earlier in the week. "Just enjoying the view?" Liam replied, his voice guarded. The man smirked, clearly not convinced. "You're with Jaden, right?" Liam hesitated before nodding. "Yeah, I am." "Lucky you," the man said, taking a sip of his coffee. Well, let's just say he's the most sought-after guy on this cruise. You must have done something right to catch his attention." There was no malice in the man's tone, but the words stung nonetheless. Liam forced a smile, but his insecurities were bubbling to the surface again. "I guess so," Liam said softly, turning his gaze back to the ocean. The man lingered for a moment before shrugging. "Just make sure you can keep up. Someone like Jaden, well, people don't just stop wanting him." Liam clenched his jaw, watching as the man walked away. The words lingered in his mind, planting seeds of doubt that quickly grew into full-blown anxiety. By the time Liam returned to the cabin, Jaden was awake and getting ready for the day. He greeted Liam with his usual warmth, but Liam's mood was already soured. He plastered on a smile, hoping Jaden wouldn't notice. They spent the day exploring the ship, attending a wine-tasting event, and even joining a trivia game in one of the lounges. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but underneath, Liam's insecurities were festering. Every glance in Jaden's direction felt like a threat. Every laugh from another man a reminder of how easily Jaden could have anyone he wanted. That evening, the ship hosted a masquerade ball, and Jaden insisted they go. Liam agreed reluctantly, his nerves already frayed. The ballroom was dazzling with soft lighting and elegant decorations. Guests mingled in elaborate masks, their laughter echoing through the room. At first, Liam tried to enjoy himself. He stuck close to Jaden, their hands brushing as they moved through the crowd. But it wasn't long before the attention Jaden naturally attracted began to wear on him. Men approached him constantly, complimenting his mask, his suit, his smile. Jaden brushed them off politely, but Liam couldn't help feeling invisible. The final straw came when a man in a silver mask approached them during a break from the dance floor. He barely acknowledged Liam, focusing entirely on Jaden. "I don't normally do this," the man began, his voice smooth. "But I just had to tell you, you're absolutely stunning." Liam's blood boiled. He waited for Jaden to shut him down, but instead, Jaden chuckled awkwardly, clearly unsure of how to respond. "Thanks," Jaden said finally, his tone neutral. Liam couldn't take it anymore. "Seriously?" he snapped, his voice louder than he intended. "Do you not see that I'm standing right here?" The man looked taken aback, but Liam didn't care. He turned to Jaden, his frustration spilling out. "I'm done being ignored, Jaden. If this is how it's going to be, maybe I don't belong here." Jaden's expression darkened, his jaw tightening. "Liam, let's not do this here." "No," Liam said, his voice shaking. "I can't keep pretending this doesn't bother me. You say I'm enough, but I don't feel like it. Not with this." He gestured around the room, the words coming out sharper than he intended. Without waiting for a response, Liam stormed out of the ballroom, his heart pounding. He didn't stop until he reached the deck, the cool night air hitting him like a slap. He leaned against the railing, his mind racing. The cruise docked early the next morning, the bustling port a stark contrast to the serenity of the open sea. Liam and Jaden stood on the deck, their bags at their feet, watching the city skyline come into view. The week had been a whirlwind of emotions, but as they turned to each other, everything felt clear. "So what now?" Liam asked, his voice steady but laced with hope. Jaden smiled, his hand brushing against Liam's. "We see where this goes. Together." Liam nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. For the first time in years, he felt ready. For love, for adventure, for whatever came next. Hand in hand, they stepped off the ship, leaving behind the ocean but carrying forward the promise of a new chapter, one they would write together. Hey, did you enjoy the story? If you really liked it and want more stories like this, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this emotional and exciting romance. And here's a question for you. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate today's story? Your feedback is super important to me. Also, if you have an amazing story to share, something that happened to you or an idea you'd love to see turned into a video, leave a comment here. Who knows? Your story might be featured in the next video on this channel. I can't wait to hear from you.